Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge. Welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. And today on the show, we've got our new friend, Ford Fairlane. How you doing, Ford?
How you doing, Jerry?
I'm doing well. So for our visually impaired guests today, we're going to describe ourselves real quick. So I'm going to start with, I'm Jerry. I've got brown hair. I've got brown eyes. I've got a headset on. I'm wearing a T-shirt from Katie Kelly that says the U.S. Prison system is broken, racist, unjust, ineffective, wasteful, and corrupt. And I'm sitting up in my office at the Fledge in my studio. And Ford, you mind describing yourself? And
Yeah, I'm 54 years of age, tall and slender, Caucasian. I'm wearing a dress sweater. I'm wearing a hat. It's more of a beret or a tam.
yeah. So I should start saying my age too. I'm 54. We're the same exact age.
Yeah, I'll be 55 October 23rd.
I'll be 55 September 2nd. So happy, real early birthdays.
Right.
So they call that double nickels we'll be at, huh?
Right. Daddy money.
Let's get into you talking about
Sammy Hagar. I can't drive 55.
Yeah, that's right.
Sammy Hagar.
I was trying to think of the song you were talking about. Now I know what you mean. Tell us about you and your project that you're working on.
Yeah, so I was released from prison Thanksgiving 2019, about 15 months ago. I've spent 27 years behind bars here in the state of Michigan since 1985, in and out of custody. And now I'm no longer involved in criminal activity. I'm a full-time criminal justice reform activist. I am attempting to create a Guinness World Record for the most prisoner pen pals.
All right. Let's save talking about that a little bit.
Okay.
Let's take care of you a little bit. Where were you born and raised? And,
all right.
And then we're going to talk a lot about the Guinness Book of World Records.
All right. I was born right here in Lansing, St. Lawrence Hospital. I grew up in Bath, farming village of Bath. Class of 1985, I dropped out of that. I was raised by solid Christian parents in the Bath United Methodist Church. For those that in the community that are not aware, Bath, Michigan, and right next door to that Methodist Church is the site of the May 18, 1927 Bath Consolidated School bombing, the deadliest act of mass murder here in the state of Michigan. And I grew up, with church elders that survived the dynamite explosion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm from Bath.
So you were in prison for 27 years, as you stated,
Right.
And now that you've got out and you've got this Guinness World Record on your mind, tell us some detail about that.
Currently, there are 33,000 Michigan prisoners, from my perspective, that suffer from some degree of PTSD, and nobody's doing a thing about it. I was released from prison. The Michigan Parole Board decided to release me from my cage without providing either effective psychotherapy counseling or effective PTSD medication. And to my mind, when Michigan government frees prisoners without effective psychotherapy counseling, it is a threat to public safety. And it bewilders me as to why they would do that. I'm trying to fix that problem. I'm trying to create. I'm in the process of trying to design America's most humane and therapeutic prison system. I self-identify as the MDOC's #1 cheerleader for 33,000 prisoners. MDOC is the acronym for the Michigan Department of Corrections.
Thank you.
Yeah, my job is to cheer up Michigan's entire prisoner population. I would love, in my effort to create this Guinness World Record, I would love to befriend Michigan's entire prisoner population, all 33,000 prisoners, and completely change the negative environment behind bars right now. Michigan prisons it's a very toxic environment, and that needs to change so that it will benefit the people of Michigan and the people of Lansing, Lansing police. Lansing police, when the state of Michigan releases a prisoner without effective psychotherapy counseling, Lansing police have to deal with the erratic behavior that goes along with that bad decision by Michigan government.
Did you have counseling while you were inside, like when you were locked up?
My final 5 years I spent at the Alger Correctional Facility in Munising. We had one psychotherapist for the entire prison, and if I'm not mistaken, the psychotherapist that I had also took care of the entire prisoner population at Marquette Branch Prison. So one psychotherapist for 2 prisons.
How many people do you think that was?
I'm not sure what the prison populations are of those 2 specific facilities. Alger's larger, I believe, over 1,000. Marquette Branch Prison, I believe, is under 1,000. I'm not positive on that. I'd have to do the research on that again to refresh my memory.
So even if it was 500, you're really talking about maybe each prisoner would get 1 session a year.
And
at best.
Well, there's a lot of prisoners that do not seek psychotherapy counseling. That they don't want to deal with a state psychotherapist. I would say there's obviously a small percentage of prisoners that meet regularly with psychotherapy. I mean, when I say regularly, once a month with a psychotherapist. But I would say the vast majority do not regularly.
And then when you were starting to be released, was there, like, did they give you resource to, like, did you ask for help and get denied, or how did that work?
I asked for help, but there's very little help available. One of the big problems is the fact that for 33,000 Michigan prisoners, there's really no way to accumulate savings for their release date.
Okay.
I mean, when you're making 90 cents per day, and you got to, spend that money on hygiene and food, you're just not able to accumulate savings for your release. And,
okay.
I mean, there's a problem with that.
And there's no free programs for therapy or anything like that when you get out, or working with your parole officer or anything?
Psychotherapists, it's just been my personal experience. I'm working with I have a psychotherapist through community mental health here in Lansing, and I love working with him, but he can only do so much. And the reason I say that is the fact of the matter is Michigan government defiantly refuses to repair the mental health damage that its employees professionally inflict in the courtroom and behind bars. Whether you're talking about conviction, integrity, indifference, or the absence of fundamental fairness in the courtroom, behind bars, you're talking about the unnecessary micromanagement of prisoners and the psychologically unhealthy conditions of confinement.
Yeah,
it's not healthy in there, and I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to really overpower. We can overpower Michigan's entire prisoner population with love letters to Michigan prisoners.
So before we go to the world record a little bit more, because I want to talk about some details there. I want to talk about your fundraising that you want to do. But I also heard you, I was upstairs and you were talking to somebody that was at the Fledge just a half an hour ago. And I heard you mention like a Finland model and talking about modern day Germany. What do you think a prison should look like? What's different between maybe a U.S. prison and one that you envision or one that you've seen that you think would be effective?
Yeah, if you were to run a Google search, you would find that Halden Prison in Norway, I believe it's in Oslo, Norway, has gained a reputation as the world's most humane prison. I remember watching a segment on 60 Minutes several years ago regarding the system, the prison system they have in modern day Germany, and from what I'm seeing, we could learn from that.
I saw a couple of models that like they don't even have a prison that has walls. It's more like a village, and they work and they even interact with the surrounding community, and there's a lot of trust there. Are you talking about models that look like that?
That's a distinct possibility. Prior to, let me think back. In the mid 80s, prior to the mid 80s, Michigan Department of Corrections had a camp system, a minimum security camp system. And up until, I want to say 1985, those minimum security prison camps here in Michigan, about a dozen of them approximately, no fences whatsoever. Now, what changed that, there were a few prisoners that escaped and they went and did some evil stuff, and thereafter they erected fences around all the camps.
So let's switch to the Guinness World Record for a minute. What is the record for?
Most prisoner pen pals.
So you want to have the most prisoner pen pals, or
that is a Guinness World Record that I have officially applied online to create. Fact of the matter is, I don't want the record to myself. I want to share it with the entire Lansing community. I would love to get the entire Lansing community involved in this prisoner pen pal project. From my perspective, we as a community need to flood our prisons with love.
why do you think that's important?
Right now, our there's 28 prisons in Michigan, and the environment is so toxic that I mean, we got to do something about that. It has to change. It's very counterproductive to what we're trying to accomplish in theory. Reduce crime rate, reduce recidivism, improve public safety. The current model ain't working. I'm trying to orchestrate change. I'm trying to drive change.
Did you have pen pals, or did you get love letters when you were in prison? And when you say love letter, I mean, you don't mean like trying to create a romance with somebody. You mean showing some love that the community's going to be here and we're going to welcome them.
I'm in a relationship with 33,000 Michigan prisoners. That's my family. There's a little over 2,000 women. I've fallen in love with over 2,000 women. There's over 30,000 men. Same goes for them. I've fallen in love with Michigan's entire prisoner population. It's not a romantic thing. Just, I care about them. I care about the people of Michigan.
I love the phrase. I love how what you're talking about. Did you have pen pals?
Most recently, I was in for 11 years. I received almost no mail whatsoever. No mail, no pen pals, no telephone calls, no visits, no nothing. And what I'm trying to do, there's thousands of prisoners in Michigan that don't receive mail. There's thousands of prisoners that don't get on the telephone or receive visits. I'm thinking about them. I'm trying to put mail in their mailbox. Prisoners love to receive mail. Prisoners love. In fact, Jerry, I'm going to challenge you right here. I want you, Jerry, to make a commitment to write a letter to at least one Michigan prisoner. Sometime, let's say in the next week or two.
Okay.
15 minutes. A prisoner of your choice.
Okay. I'm going to say yes to that, and I'm going to ask you some logistics right here on the air.
Oh, okay.
First of all, let's say it's just a random prisoner. How do I get their information? How do I get an address, a name? How do I know it's going to go to them?
The Michigan Department of Corrections has there's a state website, michigan.gov/corrections. You get on there, or you can run a Google search or Yahoo, whatever your favorite search engine is. MDOC Otis, OTIS. That's the Offender Tracking Information System. I think that's what Otis stands for.
It's something like that.
Yeah, but you get on there and you can search Otis. You can find a prisoner to randomly correspond with, and the information there's hyperlinks on the page of every Michigan prisoner, and you can click on that to learn where they are located and what their mailing address is. You can also create an account with www.jpay.com and send mail to prisoners electronically. Send them an email. It's going to cost you electronic postage. That's for 100 stamps. That's $20. I think for $5 you get 20 stamps, something like that. But jpay.com or United States Postal Service.
Okay. So I put that in the link for everybody, so anyone who's watching or watching in the future can also see that. So how should I pick my prisoner? My prisoner. That sounds so horrible. Let me
Right.
rephrase that. How should I pick the person who I am going to write to? Like what would that look like? Any idea?
I'm really not sure on how to advise you as it pertains to me. Well, I'm trying to. I want to connect with prisoners in every facility in the state, all 28 prisons. I want to connect with all of them. And for the most part, as it pertains to my personal pen pals, the vast majority of them are going to be lifers and long-term prisoners. Those are, we have to have concern for those that are getting out of prison real soon, but we must also take care of those that are serving life sentences or long-term sentences, because they have so much that they could potentially contribute to those that are getting out.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm also looking at the links that you sent me to.
Right.
I really want to try to figure out how I'm going to. I mean, I could do it randomly. Would be one answer, right? Just I'm not quite sure how to find them yet, but I'll figure that out.
I could send you. There's a few other links that I could send you regarding that, different methods of searching. Another suggestion for you, or one suggestion for you, is find somebody that's from the greater Lansing area, a prisoner that with ties to Lansing. Connect with them, connect with their family.
Okay. I was trying to figure out if I could try to identify or hone in on somebody who's not likely to be getting mail.
Right.
And we could start working there. But you're saying if we send out 30,000, then we should be covering everybody, right? That's
one way of doing it.
Yeah. So
I can't personally. It goes without saying, I'm incapable of writing to all 33,000 Michigan prisoners individual letters, but you could write one letter and send it to multiple people.
Yeah, and it's going to cost, whether it's paper or electronic. There's going to be a cost to it.
Or there's going to be a cost to it, but the way to really reach prisoners is, we could reach them through the media, through the mainstream media, and make them aware of what we're doing out here.
So if Channel 6 did a story, the prisoners would be able to see that?
There are some prisoners, yes. Some of the local prisons carry our local news affiliates.
Okay.
Here in Lansing, I believe the prison in Coldwater, for example, carries WLNS, if I remember correctly.
Okay. And then if you were in Ionia, you probably would have a local Grand Rapids station. Or
you may have both Grand Rapids and Lansing.
Okay. All right. So one thing is we can get some video to them to tell them.
Right.
I'm trying to articulate my letter too. What should I tell them in my letter?
Well, I would say, if you were to go to my GoFundMe webpage, scroll down my letter to love letter to 33,000 Michigan prisoners, and there's some ideas in there.
Okay.
That are worth exploring.
Okay.
And,
You
and
don't
that's
want.
not and that's not just something I'm saying. That's what other people are telling me.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could maybe say it on air because not everybody has that email. So I'm trying to use me as an example.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Like my mission.
sure.
Uh, I'm going over this letter right here. My mission is to create mental health stability and emotional wellness throughout the Michigan Department of Corrections. My mission is to address the PTSD concerns of 33,000 human beings in a cage. My mission is to eliminate the toxic culture in each of Michigan's 28 prisons. My mission is to create an environment that is far friendlier to the mental health of prisoners and staff alike. MDOC prison staff have mental health issues also. If we are addressing 33,000 Michigan prisoners and their PTSD issues, we also have to address those of the keepers.
Mm-hmm.
They also have issues as well. My mission is to improve public safety. My mission is to jumpstart the healing process for forgiving crime victims through restorative justice. My mission is to end the unnecessary micromanagement of prisoners. My mission is to inspire America's most humane and therapeutic prison system. My mission is to help Gretchen Whitmer orchestrate a significant reduction in Michigan's crime rate. My mission is to transform 33,000 convicted felons into 33,000 crime prevention activists. My mission is to persuade 33,000 Michigan prisoners to call a statewide timeout on violent property crime. My mission is to inspire an oral reading of Michigan's criminal statutes, thereby educating the public. My mission is to help install an introduction to criminal punishment course in Michigan school systems. My mission is to launch a successful Make Criminal Prosecutions Fundamentally Fair Again campaign, which would protect the mental health of the accused. My mission is to restore a defendant's right to present a criminal defense against oppression by the government. My mission is to restore a defendant's right to present a criminal defense. My mission is to end the judiciary's war on jury nullification, which disproportionately injures people of color. My mission is to help cause the eviction of 20,000 needlessly confined souls in Michigan ASAP. My mission is to end mass incarceration, which is a COVID-19 solution. My mission is to significantly reduce Michigan's $2 billion annual corrections budget to the joy of state taxpayers. My mission is to officially become the MDOC prisoner liaison to the Michigan legislature. My mission is to design America's safest and most peaceful prison system. Imagine a peaceful prison.
And it's a glorious imagination or a vision.
They're doing it in Norway. It can be done here in the United States.
I believe that.
My mission is to give the MDOC an attitude adjustment and turn it right side up. My mission is to transform 33,000 redeemable human beings into 33,000 harmless souls. My mission is to rescue Michigan's juvenile lifer population. My mission is to manage the Michigan Department of Corrections as Martin Luther King Jr. or Rosa Parks or Nelson Mandela might manage the MDOC. You know what? I think about it. I see Nelson Mandela spends 27 years of a life sentence in the apartheid regime's prisons, gets out and becomes the president of South Africa. And I'm asking myself, if he can do that, why can't I become the director of the Michigan Department of Corrections? You know, when the current director, Heidi Washington, is ready to retire or move on, you know, what stops me from replacing her? And that's something that I'm looking at. I'm considering.
All right. Is there more on your mission?
Well, I'm just going to call. I'm calling a statewide timeout on violent property crime. I want 33,000 Michigan prisoners to speak up with one voice and join me in this call for a statewide timeout on violent property crime. Timeout on murder in the state of Michigan. Timeout on child molestation and child abuse in the state of Michigan. Timeout on rape in the state of Michigan. Timeout on home invasion, robbery, assaultive offenses, breaking and entering. Timeout on embezzlement, fraud, theft, shoplifting. Timeout on bullying and threats of violence. Timeout on arson. Timeout on vehicular crimes of violence. Timeout on obstruction of justice and misconduct in office. Let's take a timeout on violent property crime here in the state of Michigan. Let's try to reduce Michigan's overall prisoner population, drive that 33,000 number down, drive it down, reduce our prison population, end mass incarceration, stay out of prison.
Yeah.
Help Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer significantly reduce Michigan's crime rate. It can be accomplished. We can do this.
I think all of your goals are, though they may seem very big, are very achievable.
They can be achieved.
Yes. Is there something you do every damn day that pushes all of those missions forward, or that overall mission forward?
Absolutely. I'm laser focused every damn day on Hebrews 13:3. That particular Bible verse says, "Remember the prisoners as if you are chained to them, and suffer with those that suffer." And I have adopted that particular verse. I'm laser focused on it every damn day, and that's what keeps me driven right here. That drives me.
When we were talking before the show, we talked a little bit about Black Lives Matter and LGBTQ rights, and so you got released in November of 2019?
Correct. And then November 26th, 2019.
Okay, so, and then about 3 months, or maybe it was 6 months later, sorry, the incident with George Floyd's murder happens, and everything kind of blows up in the social justice world, and Black Lives Matter is prominent in that. What was that like for you? What were your thoughts when all of that was happening?
The George Floyd incident, was that the one that was in Missouri?
It was the one that was in Minnesota. In Minneapolis, he was choked. He couldn't breathe. They held him down for 8 minutes, 36 seconds, I think.
Yeah, there's a, well, the thing that comes to mind, with the interactions between law enforcement and the community, if we had mental health stability and emotional wellness throughout the Michigan Department of Corrections, I don't think there would be as many confrontations on the streets here in the state of Michigan as there are elsewhere.
Mm.
I'm trying to, we need to redesign our prison system so that it spits out people, human beings that have mental health stability and emotional wellness, and ex-offenders that are trying to that are willing to become crime prevention activists and criminal justice reform activists. You know, when I was released, I did not know what I was going to do so far as employment or a source of income. I just knew that that I needed to consume myself with my criminal justice reform advocacy. When I interviewed with the Michigan Parole Board, I told the board member, you know, I'm determined to prove myself harmless. And that's what 33,000 Michigan prisoners need to internalize, in my opinion. I'm trying to prove myself harmless. I'm making that a suggestion to 33,000 Michigan prisoners.
Okay. So, when we do the show, we always daisy chain the show together. And yesterday on the show, I had Will Green, who owns a food truck. He's a teacher and he's a comedian. And his question that he wanted me to pass to you is, let's say that he meets somebody either through one of his endeavors or whatever that's just been released from prison. What's the best thing he can do to help that person?
Offer to help.
Just ask them.
Make it known. You know, I'm offering to help you. How can I help you? What needs do you have that need to be met?
Okay. Is there something that you need right now? Like if Will was meeting you right now and he asked you that question, what's something that's like one of your needs?
My fundraiser, my GoFundMe page, I would like an office to, you know, somewhere where I can conduct business from.
Okay.
Somewhere with a mailing address or a post office box.
Okay. Let's go on to, and I just want to flash your GoFundMe up there again. This is in the links in the comments, but there is a GoFundMe trying to raise $10,000. So I want to promote that, but we'll talk about that in the end as well, and promote it one more time. Tomorrow on the show, I've got Megan Church, and she is creating like a urban lavender farm experience, different products, all of that. What question would you like me to ask Megan?
Is she willing to become involved in this project right here, and would she be willing to take 15 minutes sometime in the next week or two? 15 minutes is all it would take to sit down and compose a letter to a Michigan prisoner of your choice. Would you be willing to take on that challenge?
All right. So hopefully I'm going to be able to figure out how to identify who I want to write a letter to. And then I'm going to start kind of drafting it. And then tomorrow, hopefully I'll be able to tell her how to do that too.
Right.
With all the guidance you've given me, and see what she says. Mm-hmm. And if just 10% of the city wrote 2 letters and gave you $1, you'd exceed both your goals.
Yeah, in addition to the office, you know, I'm also trying to. I would like a desktop computer, a printer. You know, basic office supplies. I'm also thinking legal representation for my campaign to become MDOC prisoner liaison to the Michigan legislature. I'm thinking in terms of postage and envelopes. Those are all part of the GoFundMe. You know, what I'm seeking to gain from that, what I'm seeking to make happen.
How many letters have you written to prisoners so far?
It's funny that you should ask me that. I mean, right now, I'm not permitted to write prisoners.
Ah.
There is a Michigan Department of Corrections policy directive that prohibits me from, because I am on parole, and technically I'm still a prisoner. There's a Michigan Department of Corrections policy directive that forbids prisoner-to-prisoner communications through the United States Postal Service and JPay.
Really?
My JPay account is restricted here in the state of Michigan. I'm not allowed to write to prisoners.
Does that make sense to you?
I'm not allowed to send love letters to people that I care about because some bureaucrat says so.
Why do you think they do that? Or what's their reason they give?
I think part of the problem, back in 2009, they changed the policy. Prior to that, prisoners could freely send mail to other prisoners in the state. But since 2009, they've done away with that. I'm not clear on why they did it, but I think there were some shady dealings going on in some of those communications between prisoners, with threats and extortions and, some stuff like that, but what I'm talking about is love letters.
Yeah. It seems like do they read every piece of mail that you get?
Presumably not. I mean, each prison has a mailroom staff. They open all the mail except for those from lawyers, but from the general public. And from what I'm seeing, they photocopy those letters and pass the photocopies on to the prisoners. Mail anymore these days, it's my understanding prisoners no longer receive the actual copy because of drugs.
Yeah.
I guess putting drugs on the paper itself somehow.
Yeah. Okay. So with the GoFundMe page, a lot of what you've talked about, this kind of is your website right now, right? People can go to that and they can read everything that you and I talked about, plus a lot more, and they can donate and they can kind of see the process for how to communicate with the prisoner.
And that page explains to the general public why I belong in prison.
Okay. All right. So I forgot about that you kind of led with that.
I belong in prison. I belong in prison for a good cause. My 33,000 confined brothers and sisters. I belong in prison with other sinners, people who allowed the devil to wreak havoc on their life. I belong in prison with people of color, disproportionately imprisoned people of color. I belong in prison with citizens that were never free to present their desired defense. I belong in prison with juvenile lifers, parolable lifers, mandatory lifers, elderly lifers. I belong in prison with habitual offenders, mentally disturbed people, and prisoners with long-term sentences. I belong in prison with the worst of the worst. I belong in prison with those that do not receive mail, do not have loved ones to telephone, do not receive visits. I belong in prison with the friendless and unloved. I belong in prison with homosexual predators and homosexual prey. I belong in prison with people that need not rot in prison. I belong in prison with valuable human beings that need a positive project to contribute to. I belong in prison with murderers and robbers and thieves and rapists and home invaders and assault of people and child abusers and child molesters and child porn addicts and people infected with demons and gangsters and thugs and crooks and prostitutes and LGBTQ friends and Black Lives Matter family and people from other spiritual faiths. I belong in prison with those.
I like the way you write. I like what you write about. As we start to wrap up here, is there any last message, anything that you want to really get out there before we wrap up?
Yeah, my New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
There's 28 prisons here in the state. I want to visit all 28 prisons this year, this calendar year. I want to visit. I feel entitled to return to prison and
do something,
openly mingle with my loved ones.
Will
the
director
of the Michigan Department of Corrections can go to whatever prison she wants to and speak to whatever prisoner she wants to. I would like to do the same thing. Same holds true for the Michigan legislature. You know, they if they wanted to go to a certain prison and meet with certain individuals or groups of prisoners, they can.
Okay.
I'm not free to do that yet, but if I was to officially become employed as the MDOC prisoner liaison to the Michigan legislature,
all right, we better get working on that then.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, I think what you're doing is very good work. I think it makes our community stronger, which then makes us need less and less services from the police and the judicial systems and all of that. We start to shrink it. It's definitely needs reforming. We didn't talk too much about like defund the police or defund this or defund that, but it sounds like you want to shrink it down. We don't need it. We don't need these interactions that are unhealthy, and both sides sometimes are suffering from mental health issues, and we need to recognize that. I like that.
Yeah, I promote kindness between prisoners and their keepers.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you'd like to take us out with?
I need a paycheck. That's one thing. Since I got out of prison 15 months ago, I have not really been able to connect with an employer that's willing to give me a paycheck.
Yeah.
I'm struggling. I struggle to survive out here.
Is there a particular type of job? Like, can you cook? Can you build? Are you an electrician? Anything like that? Or
I would feel most comfortable like in perhaps a law office. I do not have formal legal training. I don't have formal legal training, but there is an abundance of informal knowledge that I have. You know, I spent a great deal of time in prison law libraries. I'm very familiar with Michigan compiled law, you know, all of our criminal statutes, the higher courts, you know, reading through case laws, Michigan court rules. I have learned how to navigate my way around a law library, a prison law library.
Okay. All right. Well, that's another episode of Every Damn Day. Stay tuned tomorrow. We've got Megan Church. Love what you're doing, Ford. And thanks for being on the show. And tomorrow I will see you all later.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you. Have a great